welcome to Enter Shaolin's podcast, episode 5. I'm Sije Pelaez, and I have Sifu Rivera here. And we also have one of our awesome Abbot members, Bob Taylor, with us. And
hello.
He is here to share his health challenges that he's experienced, the things that he's doing to overcome those. If anyone could make excuses about time or the fact that they have health issues or whatever, it would be this man, but he does not make excuses and he keeps persevering, which is why we wanted to put him on our podcast here to be able to share his story and be able, to inspire you that, you might have some challenges in life, but that doesn't mean it has to stop you from living your dreams and becoming a better version of you. So Bob, share some stuff about you. I know you have lots of health challenges, like what's going on with you and what are the things that you're doing to help overcome those things?
Well, some of the challenges I have going on with me are I have epilepsy. Which is something that it's very hard to overcome. If you know anyone that has that, I have seizures about 4 or 5 times a week.
Wow.
And there's not much that they can do for me because my body with medicine, I'm allergic to 99% of the things out there. So I can't take anything for it. There's things I can take that I have taken in the past that helps it. That's not quite legal, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, brother. And it's sad that natural things are not legal, but
yes,
a whole podcast on that.
What are we talking about?
You know what we're talking about. Stop laughing. Don't be playing coy.
Another thing that I have is I've had let's see, 4 or 5 surgeries alone on my back. I have herniated discs currently back there with degenerated discs all over from the bottom of my back. I have the 3 herniations I have one that goes, it goes in towards my belly, one that goes to the right, and one goes to the left.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't feel anything from the small of my back, down my right buttocks, down my right leg. It's all dead. It's 100% dead. I don't feel it. But it doesn't stop me. I keep going. There are days where I just can't get up and move. That's
right.
That's a fact. Especially after I tried doing some of that stuff that Sifu Phu has us do.
You got some of that core training. He's funny, right? Because he'll be like, we actually joke about this a lot. He'll be like, yeah, you can do 50. And we're like, Sifu, not everyone is as conditioned as you. Like, so he's gotten better, where he'll be like, all right, well, if you can only do 10 or 20 or whatever. But yeah, it's awesome that you're still working on improving your body despite that. Because I've met a lot of people that have just as many issues as you, maybe different stuff, but they let it literally cripple them and they just give up on life. So
honestly, there for a time, it did me. It did me. I said, I have a brown belt in Aikido. And I said that right after this happened to me, I was in a major depression.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was in the hospital for a week, and then I was in a nursing home for 2 months afterwards, and to learn how to walk again. And during that time, I was so depressed. But if it wasn't for my wife, and at that time she wasn't even my wife, she was just my friend. If it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't be here right now. We'll just put it that way.
Right.
But she helped me through a lot, and having a good family to back you up is one major thing.
Yes, a support system.
Encourage you. Right. Exactly. You need that. And if you can't think positive about it and keep moving forward, that's why I'm on Slack there. Someone posted that, no, not Slack, it was on the forum. Someone posted that they're a bit lazy.
Right.
I said to them, if you find yourself being a bit lazy, get a hold of one of us. We'll whip your butt into shape.
Right on. Partners help, yeah.
Yeah, so, that's some of the challenges that I have. But what I do to overcome them is I just push through. It's going to hurt. it hurts like hell every time I do it. I just push through it, and that's just how I do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what, even if you don't have a lot of health issues, like in general, working out and challenging your muscles in new, interesting ways, it's going to hurt. It was funny. It was about like a month ago. I was talking about how my daughter was talking about how she was sore after her wushu. She like really pushed it extra hard, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sore, mommy." And I'm like, "Jaya, I'm sore practically every day of my life since I got on this kung fu journey. Like seriously, I'm sore every day." And she was like, why would you do that to yourself? And I'm like, because you have to keep pushing yourself in order to grow. It's just like children, they have growth spurts and they have growing pains. In order to have growth, there has to be pain, or like you like to say.
What do I say? You tell me.
No. I want to hear you say it. Come on.
You tell me. I ain't saying
Come on.
I ain't saying it.
Well, you say no pain, no gain a lot.
I do.
So yeah.
Well,
so
you know
awesome
why? Because everything I've ever gotten good at, it doesn't matter.
It requires some pain, right?
Even when I learned how to play guitar, my fingers just always hurt from playing so much. So no matter what you do, I don't think there's any way around it. Whether it's
Absolutely.
Whether it's like you're in college and you got to take exams, or you're trying to learn to be a mechanic, whatever it is in life that you're trying to be good at, it requires pain.
Pain and sacrifice.
Pain is part of the equation in growth, unfortunately.
Right.
I'd like to bypass the pain part, but I don't think that's possible.
So you had a good support system, and you keep going despite the pain. What other things are you doing to better yourself and help your body through this healing process?
A lot of the Qigong. I was very skeptical at first on that. I'll be quite honest, I was. And I find myself doing that, and it helps relax me a lot. Mm-hmm. That's basically what it is I have to relax. If I can relax, I don't hurt myself.
Right.
But,
because that tension in the body will cause injury. Yep.
Exactly. So that's, the Qigong, I've been concentrating on that a lot lately. After, I had that discussion with you and Sifu about, about the Qigong, and you told me about, remember I had felt the tingling in my fingertips. And you're like, oh, yeah. And you both looked at each other and laughed. And I was like, all right, well, I must be hitting something here. So, I just kept on going. And, I haven't moved too much forward along with the NDN, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I've been concentrating on that and seeing how far that can help me heal. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, isn't it fascinating how, like, such simple exercises can make a dramatic difference in your health?
Oh, it's so much. I actually find myself, I have a little bit more flexibility now. I can bend over a little bit more. Not much, don't get me wrong. I can't touch my toes. I can't even touch my knees. But there was a time I couldn't even touch my hands would just sit at my side. And
wow.
I couldn't bend over. Now I can go to mid-thigh. So I'm happy with that.
That's good.
Yeah, so I'm really happy with that. So,
I think one of the things that makes Qigong such a great aid in healing is that a lot of times when you're injured or you're sick, or things aren't going right, like you're just depressed, your body's tired, your mind's tired. You don't want to think too hard. And I know for myself, throughout the years, even though I don't have the energy sometimes to do certain things, or maybe my head's hurting really bad, or I'm just down in the dumps, Qigong is like such an easy thing to do, and it doesn't require much thought. I mean, in fact, to do it right, you ain't even thinking. So
yeah.
The head, your brain's at rest, but that little bit of work that you do yields such a tremendous benefit in helping your overall state of mind, your physical being. It's just a great wellness group of exercises. I'm surprised more people haven't picked up on it and they're like, hey, we'll just do this every morning.
Well, I think for a lot of people, at least from what I've experienced from talking to some non-members and members, a lot of people automatically think like, oh, this is for old people and I'm not quote unquote old yet, so I don't need it. But it's something that will help you. I don't care if you're a kid, you're actually, 100, whatever, somewhere in between. It's life-giving and it's helpful. And I think another thing is in this fast-paced world, most people are like, oh, well, that's boring. You know what I mean? They're like, well, oh, that's so slow. And it forces them to have to slow down, which is a good thing. But in this world, we've got what I call the microwave mentality, you know what I mean? Like everything needs to be instant and whatnot. And they don't understand that if they just took that little bit of time to do these things, they would realize that almost instantaneously it would benefit their lives.
Yeah, and not only that, 20-something years ago, I walked into Sifu Phu's school, and he punched me in the chest, and I saw white. And I got hit a lot in karate, and I got hit just by my friends. I never seen a white light flash, right? Like I thought, I'm gonna look, I'm gonna be seeing heaven. It's time to go. And I said, what did you do? I don't understand. That hurt so bad. And you know,
excuse me, I dropped my water.
Oh.
And he always said, you know, he always says, you know, I only use 10% of my power. And oh my God, it's only 10% of your power. So I said, so what's the secret? You know, how do you do that? And he had told me Qigong, do Qigong. And so one of the first group of exercises I learned when I started training with him was the 10 Qigong exercises. And all these years forward, it really is the one thing out of everything that I just try to maintain as part of my life on a regular, ongoing basis. And, you know, I bounced back a lot from being sick. I worked through all my injuries. I'm always injured. Something always hurts.
Yeah, that's so true. Like you're always with Kung Fu, like we're doing bone conditioning, you know, weightlifting, literally every week I get beat.
You know, where's that fine line between training and abuse? Who knows?
But yeah, like there's always injuries, there's always pain and stuff, and you have to listen to your body. Like there's a level of going too far where you're gonna injure yourself more, and there's a level of helping your body heal by rehabilitating that. So you always have to listen to your body and pay attention to that. And I'm sure you've experienced that as well, Bob.
Most definitely. Especially even with like the Qigong, like if you know, with the side bend thing, I can't go far. You know, I can't bend down far, but you know, I go to where I feel just a hair of pain, and then you know, I know that's where I need to be.
But you don't push it too far.
Right. I go to there and I go, okay, stop, and then you know, keep going. But that's what you have to do. I'm finding that out. You have to do that to progress further.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, it's natural. I guess it's human nature. If something hurts, you move away from it, right?
Right.
If people hurt you, you move away from them. If you're injured, you don't use it. If you're sick, you just stay in bed. And actually, you know, the body is much like a vehicle. You know, you can put a brand new car, park that brand new car for 7 years, and it'll be a piece of crap, even if you never driven the car. And I think a lot of people, even as we get older, they're like, oh, well, I'm 70-something years old. I guess I'm old now, and it's time for me to just retire. And
so I'm
not going to do this. And they end up, you know, maybe going to a retirement home, surrounded by other old-minded people
that are just sitting around.
Right, and they go to retirement home 6 months later, they pass away. You know, I used to have a neighbor. He lived to be 96 years old, and he outlived both of his wives. And when I moved here, where I live now, he must have been like 92, 91. No, he was 91. And I was splitting wood. This is years ago, and I was bad at it. You know, before I had a fireplace in my house, I really didn't know how to split wood. So I'm trying to split wood, and the axe is bouncing off the wood, and this old man comes over laughing at me. He's like, "Hey, boy, you don't know what you're doing." And he's like, "Let this old timer show you how it's done." And he grabbed the axe, and with one hand, he swung the thing around and went through the log. And I went, "Oh." I'm such a sad case of a man.
But he lived till 98, right? Yeah. He was active.
Yeah, he was. Matter of fact, 2 days before he died, he was in his yard working on a lawnmower. Yeah, I didn't know he died of cancer, and I didn't know he had cancer because I would go in his yard and we'd play chess, or he'd show me something that he'd built because he was always working, and he didn't tell nobody. He didn't complain. He didn't say I was sick or hurting. He just peacefully passed away.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy, you know, how the older generation always seem to help us? Like you with that gentleman and me, I had a neighbor that taught me Tai Chi.
Right.
Portions of Tai Chi. And, you know, me not knowing that it was a martial art back then, I just was like, okay, I thought it was like some type of dance is what I thought it was. You know, I was young. I think I was 9 or 10, something like that. And I'm old for it now. So, you know, and then I lost it and I forgot about it until I went into the nursing home. I mean, you said something about a nursing home there. I went into a nursing home, and my roommate, who I got along with great, believe it or not, he was in his, I think, 70s, if I remember correctly. He started me back on it, and then you know, then that got me into YouTube, and that got me into watching everything on YouTube, and then finding you all. So and then here I am.
How old are you, Bob?
I am 47 years old.
What? You're still a young buck. Come on now.
Well,
old part.
if you ask my doctors, they'll tell you I have a body of about a 90-year-old. So.
Well, we're gonna work on that.
That's it.
There's a lot you can do.
But if you have a mind of a 20-year-old, it balances out.
That's it.
Yeah, it really is a mindset, and you are working on becoming healthier and healthier every single day, and that's what it takes. You know, you could have literally laid down and just died and said, you know what, it's over for me. And I've seen people do that, and it's so sad, because there's so many things you can do besides, you know, the physical activity, working on your mindset. For me personally, working on my spirituality helps with my mindset and my overall demeanor. And then there's obviously, what are you putting in your mouth? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing with your life? That's a big thing as well. And there's just so many things we can do to become better versions of ourselves. So I'm so happy and proud of you that you just didn't quit, you know, and that your wife, you know, back then she was just a friend, was willing to invest in you and say, you know what, it's not over yet. It doesn't have to be over yet for you. And that you were willing to take her advice and keep pushing forward. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that, and, you know, then my children, you know, Vicky, that's my current wife. Her and I do not have no children together. You know, I say I have 7 kids. Well, 5 of them are hers. Okay, but they're mine. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Your family's who you make it.
Yeah.
I have all kinds of adopted family. You're my family.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I consider you all family. We had that discussion already. You know, I take them as they're mine. They're my children. I help them. I nurture them. I'm the one, you know, they've, like, the younger ones have lived with me almost all their life. So, you know, they know me as like the father figure. Does that make sense? Now, they have their dad, and they see their dad every other week, and, you know, they have a very good relationship with them, but they also have a good relationship with me.
That's good.
Very trying, you know, especially with the 14-year-old boy that we, you know, our 14-year-old. He's very trying.
All children test you on some level, I think.
Well, he has some issues himself. He has some, I don't want to go into what's wrong with him, but he has some past experiences that are haunting him. So we'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
And it's very hard. But lately, you know, it's got to the point where we can talk. And, you know, he sees me doing this stuff, and he's like, Bob, can you show me this? I'm like, well.
That's awesome.
I'm like, I can show you some of it, but I'm not going to show you all of it. And he doesn't understand why.
I think that Qigong would be really good for him.
He's following along with that. He has been. I have him, and I also have Alicia. She's the youngest. I also have her doing it, but she has scoliosis, really bad, and along with, you know, her autoimmune that she has. So, you know, I have her doing it also. Hopefully that might help her out with her, you know, the scoliosis of her back. So Absolutely. We'll see.
Well, that's good. That's good that you are inspiring them as well through your own progression and your own story, and that you're able to work with them and share that with them. That's awesome.
Yeah, they're very important to me. All kids are, believe it or not. I used to, a few years back, I used to do an after-school program for children at my church, and you know, I'm sad to say that's no longer around, but, you know, I used to love every Tuesday meeting with those kids. There was 20 of them. And to this day, every single one of them see me out. They run up, they give me a hug, and they tell me about what's going on with them.
That's awesome.
Just 2 weeks ago, the one girl, she made a mistake, and she got pregnant. Very young. She's 13.
Ouch.
And she had the baby, and, you know, she didn't give up the baby for.
I knew someone in my 7th grade that got pregnant. Yeah. She had the baby as well.
Makes me twitch.
So she she showed up here on my doorstep, and I was like, whoa. I'm like, please come in, and the baby was a beautiful little baby and stuff. And she's like, she calls me Mr. Bob. She goes, Mr. Bob, I am so sorry. I said, what are you sorry about? She goes, well, I made a mistake. I said, honey, we all make mistakes. You're going to learn that.
Truth.
We all make mistakes, and don't think of this little one here as a mistake.
Right.
I said, yes, you're young. They're young. But just think of, growing up, you guys are going to be best friends. Just look at it that way. You guys are close in age. You're going to be best friends. You're going to understand more about them than I do about my because I can't stand the music they listen to these days. But they couldn't stand my music either. So I understand completely. But I'm a big Metallica guy. I'm a speed metal guy. So
they're like, what is this?
No, they know what Metallica is now. They hear it and they go, Bob, listen. So yeah, but it's family means a lot to me. They're everything to me.
That's wonderful. So you have your family that keeps you going. You got a good support system. And then you're taking action with your Qigong. Are you doing, have you moved past the 10 exercises into like the 40 breaths or the Ngo Gong yet?
I just, honestly, last night, I just watched the 40 breaths for the first time.
I think you're going to like that.
The 40 breaths are really, with the 10 basic Qigongs, you get a natural, organic feeling of energy. Mm-hmm. With the 40 breaths, you start moving it through your body.
Right, and that's what I was learning. I'm starting to learn that part. So
I like the 40 breaths.
That'd be cool to see how that helps you, that extra layer. So besides that, I know you're going through the Ngo Dac Na 101 course as well, right?
Yes.
What other things are you doing to help? Sure.
Bob, you mentioned something about the 101 course, and you said, I got the course, but I'm going a little slow on it because I'm right here doing this thing right now, and this is kind of encompassing what I'm doing. And I think because of the nature of online, the way information comes out so fast on the internet, and the fact that both myself and Jamie, we're online marketers, and we've bought thousands of dollars worth of online products and have it distributed to us in certain ways where we were like, you know what? I don't want to do that to people. I want you guys just to have everything. But by doing that, so that way, you can look at stuff. But the reality is, if we've been filming for 3 years, 3.5 years, there's a solid, just in the information that we put there right now, God,
I think
4 years, 5 years worth of physical, now go do this stuff.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Double that, Larry, because honestly, even with Silm Tao, there's some people, they're so funny, right? They'll be like, well, got that memorized, I'm done. But it's a continual perfecting of that. Like, you can't just memorize and say you're done. Now you have to go back and correct your form, and you have to work on your energy and then play with it in different levels, just in that, you know what I mean? So I would say at a bare minimum with what's in there, it's more like 7 years of training.
Yeah, with Sifu Phu, I've been a private student. I never really, I went to public classes kind of just to see who was in class, but I've always been just a private student. And in my training, after a while, I realized that I only learned stuff in the first 5 minutes of a 60-minute class. And it takes the rest of the class to kind of tell me about that first 5 minutes in different ways. But when at the end of the day, at the end of the class, when I go home, I actually absorb and understand the lesson when I'm driving, or if I'm watching television, or if I'm having a conversation that has nothing to do, because that information's still in my brain somewhere. It's only 5 minutes of it, right? Because that's all I can absorb. So a lot of times, I like to say, in my classes, there'd be 5-10 minutes of teaching, and then fluff, right? To take up the extra time because I got to pay him for something.
Yeah, that's it.
He gave me all the knowledge already that my brain could handle. And unfortunately, it was only that little bit.
Well, shouldn't you say sometimes you'd be like, all right, you bow out, give him his money after like 10 minutes because you knew like you were at capacity for what you could learn for the day?
I started to get better at my martial arts, which means I got better at understanding myself and how much where my limits were. So Sifu, he would say something to me that would blow my mind away in the first 10 minutes. And I'd be like,
we're good.
Peace. I'll see you next week. I got to go think about this, you know? Because I was that guy who you know, if you do this, it just does it. But then my brain would start to try to go like, well, what's happening here, right? So I would get stuck in my thoughts, right?
Oh, me too.
On
That's
things
how I am.
you know, things that are I watched that one scene in that Bruce Lee movie, Enter the Dragon, and he's talking to the boy, and he's like, you know, the boy's pointing at his finger, and he hits him in the head. He's like, "You're gonna miss all the heavenly glory," that type of thing.
Up there, yeah.
And I think a lot of people do that in when they're training in martial arts. We get tons of people who email us, and they have all these billions and billions of questions. Well, am I going to get certified at doing this, or how long does this take, or do you offer ranks, or
right?
Blah,
like,
blah,
how
blah,
about
blah,
we start with like training and mastering some skills first, like
right.
before we worry about all this other stuff. Like, and I don't think people even understand that even to get certified, how long it takes. Like, I know some people, like our first year, were like, well, when are you guys holding a certification, or even the second or third? And I'm kind of happy that we actually haven't had it yet. Like, part of me was like, oh man, we haven't had our certifications yet. But I don't think anyone that's in our site, like, I know this is going to sound crazy, I don't think anyone's truly ready yet, because there's so much knowledge that they need to work on and grasp before they can get.
Well, we have
like, I've been training for 3 years with, you know, the site and you in person, plus, you know, filming Sifu. So I get like tidbits of information while I'm filming him. And I can tell you right now, I know for a fact I'm not ready. So how these people feel like they need to go do all these things, it's like, you know, they're putting the horse or the cart before the horse. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it causes, there's a lot of bad rap for martial arts, I guess is the word I'm looking for, because, you know, you can go to a common school anywhere in the country, maybe even around the world, and every 3 months you can take a test for a sash or a belt.
Right.
So
it's not microwave mentality again. You know what I mean?
You take a test, 3 months, you take a test.
Boom,
you get your
boom,
black belt, or you get your black sash or blue sash, whatever the rank system, how it is. You get it, and now all of a sudden you become an expert because you got these belts.
Right.
And I said, I remember asking Sifu one time, I'm like, so, you know, I wanted my sash, right?
Where's my certificate?
I still ask for my certificate. I'm like, Sifu, can I have a certificate, or like?
Well, tell him what he did that one.
So
day.
I was in his. This is going back years, but I was in his office, and I was like, so Sifu, I'd like to, you know what I need to know to earn my sash. And he goes, what do you want, a certificate? I'm like, well, yeah, I want a certificate. So he opened up his dresser, and he pulled out this big, nice, fancy looking piece of paper. He goes, what do you want it to say? I got lots of them. I'm like, he goes, because they don't mean nothing, right? Especially in martial arts. What I didn't expect when I got involved, because when I used to walk into class after working all day, you know, at a labor job, and Sifu would be swinging, right? He's like, look at me, I'm a pendulum. I'm like, man, I just want to be a pendulum. It looks like such a great job. And then I started teaching, and what I didn't realize, I guess, the gravity of having people who innocently try to take your face off. Right? Like, when you say, hey,
hazardous job.
You know, I teach martial arts, that really means people are going to try to hurt you, but they're not going to do it in a bad way. They're just, they just want to know, how does this stuff work?
Right. And how much you
and as you
actually know what you're saying.
And as you get good, you can feel the person, what they're trying to do. And part of you is like, I don't want to have to hurt this guy. But the other part of you is like, well, you got to be a professional and actually look like you know what you're talking about. So, you know, there's a lot more, like, to be certified at something, it requires a lot more than just saying, hey, you know the technique, or you know the form, or you know the structure. Mm-hmm. Can you deal with people, big, strong, right? Mean? Or can you deal with different attitudes? Different personalities. People's personalities are so different. You have to learn who you're speaking to and how to talk to them on the level that they understand, without offending them and without creating any bad blood, right? Yeah. And so getting certified, a lot of people want to be certified, and we certainly want to certify people.
Yeah, we do. Because I would love,
me and Sifu Phu and you, and we talk about it all the time, but what requirements is it to be certified? And really, the only way to certify someone in what we do is to actually physically feel if they understand how that energy works.
Right. So it's going to have to literally be like a
because to be certified in Ngo Dac Na, you could, maybe your style is Kempo, or maybe it's Taekwondo, or Jiu-Jitsu, or Judo, or some form of karate, or just whatever, right? That none of that has any bearings on, do you understand how the energy works with the body? And so to be certified in Ngo Dac Na, we have to physically feel if you can hold your structure, right? If you can channel energy, if you can blend energy, if you can bend, all these things matter. So it's going to be an interesting certification program.
Yeah, I got a little bit about what you're saying there. Is I got in a major discussion with a couple people that I know that are quote unquote black belts in Taekwondo.
Right.
And I asked him, I said, well, how long have you been studying? Oh, about 1.5 years. I said, you're a black belt already? Like, well, yeah. I said, well, wow. I said, I studied 9 years and I only made the brown belt in Aikido. I said, what? Why?
That's awesome. That tells me you were in a school that was really making you work.
It took me 7 years to get my brown belt in Goju-Ryu with the way that my sensei taught.
That's good, though. That's good, because it should take you
I was scared to
at least that long.
Dude, I was scared to take tests with him. He's like, are you ready? I don't think so. Ready. Okay.
Right?
I would tell him no all the time. God rest her soul, she's no longer with us, but my sensei, she would actually, the one thing I like about Aikido is how they taught me how to fall. Like if you get knocked down, how to fall correctly. Yeah, so you can get right back up.
It's useful.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely. I get slammed into the concrete all the time.
You better know how to fall. You're going to get hurt.
Yeah, and that that's one thing, a lot of it I agree is like it looks like a dance with Aikido. But blending energy. There again, it goes right along with the Ngo Dac Na.
Absolutely.
How to blend the energy. They don't want to force the energy upon you. They want to blend it away. So that's another thing. That I just absolutely going back just what I can remember of everything else and seeing how the Ngo Dac Na system will fit into just that is crazy.
Well,
these guys. The point I was trying to get. Sorry, I got off base.
Okay.
What the point I was trying to get was my buddies that take the Taekwondo. They're like, well, why aren't you getting rank? I said, well, I don't want rank. Right. Why? Because I don't deserve it. And until I can actually understand everything fully, completely, then I feel I deserve something. And they're like, well, that doesn't make sense. I said, well, it does to me. I said, and then the way these guys teach it, it's straightforward. They don't piss around. They don't moan around. They just go at it. And, they're like, well, yeah, but, you don't learn to throw all these fancy kicks and do all them. So?
You don't need to know fancy kicks. It's all about efficiency.
That's exactly what I said. I said, when are you going to be doing a triple jump, kick someone 3 times at once in a street fight? You tell me when that's going to happen.
Right. And let me know so I can come watch.
I think the reason why I like certain traditional martial arts, all techniques are really good because if you do a technique right, it can hurt.
It can hurt. Absolutely.
The problem isn't in the techniques. The problem is in how you train to use those techniques. And I had a friend who and I like Aikido. I'm not bashing Aikido, but I had a friend who did Aikido, and he got in his posture and he goes, "Okay, grab my wrist. I want to show you something." So I grabbed his wrist. He goes, "No, don't grab my wrist that way. Grab my wrist this way." And so I grabbed the wrist that way. He goes, no, don't tug me that way. Do it this way. I'm like, bro, this ain't ever gonna work.
Right, it had to be
never gonna work. And it wasn't that if he was in that position that it wouldn't work. The technique would work. The problem is his mind is so caught up on, you need to do it this way. This has to occur that way. And this must be this way or else. And that's how you train it.
Right.
So if you want to use that technique in a real situation, it's never going to work because that person in front of you will not, I guarantee, use that type of energy so you can work with that type of technique. which is why I think jujitsu got very, very popular, because jujitsu training isn't about learning a fixed technique. Jujitsu training is learning how to deal with the energy as it's being given to you. And so there's no fixed situation. In Wing Chun, Chi Sao does the same thing. Practicing Chi Sao, there's no fixed, there's a fixed pattern in getting your roll. But when the attacks happen, there's no fixed attack. There's no, okay, do this so I can do that. You just got to feel it. You're going to get hit. Push hands from Tai Chi, it's the same concept in push hands. There's a fixed set of patterns that you do at first, but that's only so you can learn how to move. And then it's however you get pushed, you have to learn to deal with, right?
Right.
Nothing's fixated. But the schools that sit there when they do it, and this is why I'm a little against ranking, because to go from, like, say, a white belt to a yellow belt, you might have to know 3 blocks and how to use those 3 blocks, and how to know 2 kicks and how to use those 2 kicks. The problem is, at that level, you're fighting in a sequence.
Yep, the katas, as they
But
call
in a
them.
street, there is no sequence. You're not fighting in a sequence, and nobody's punching perfect, right? To block, and I had that problem. Even when I first started training in Wing Chun, I would try to make a tan sao work for someone throwing like a karate punch. But because the karate punch came outside of where I wanted my hand to be, I just couldn't seem to get that block right when I needed to use it. And that was before I understood how the energy would work and how my body needed to move with the energy itself to put me in the right position. And so over time, I figured out what to do. But I can see why a lot of martial arts schools who base things on rank, how if you're a martial arts student, you've been training for 3 years, you have a black belt, you have kind of a little bit of a chip on your shoulder because you got that fancy belt, people are bowing to you because you're a higher rank than them. And then you're out somewheres and some kid or guy or whoever is in your face and just starts bashing the crap out of you because you're like, no, you're punching me wrong. You're punching me in the face. What's wrong?
Yeah.
Sadly, we've seen, because we've been to different seminars and stuff, and we've seen, people that, or even sometimes Sifu has people come in, Sifu Phu, that have been training forever, got black belt this or that, the other, and then they want to come and test their skill on him, and then they feel completely defeated. Now, one of 2 things happens with those people. Either they go back and pretend like that just didn't happen and they keep doing what they did. Actually, no, there's 3 things. There's that one. Or they completely break down and go, man, what have I been doing with my whole life, and just get into like a Great Depression. Or they're like, what have I been doing all my life, and go, okay, I need to learn this. But those 3 things happen. And it's sad that there is this culture, but we really do. We get that question a lot, like, what's your ranking system? What's your belt system? Blah, 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 blah. And, originally martial arts didn't have belt systems. That was, a commercialized thing.
Something, one thing I want to point out too about certification, you know what? A good teacher will get students regardless of what pieces of paper say.
Well, yeah, because it's not the paper that dictates whether you're good at what you're doing.
And to be honest, somebody who is a person like teaches, like,
right, you don't have any belts, you don't have any certificates, but we have to actually turn people away that want to train with you because we don't have time for them.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, all the years that I've been doing martial arts, I started teaching for free. See, I made it because I was like, I'm not really qualified to teach, but
you need a training partner.
With my personality and how I approach people, I always had people coming up to me and being inquisitive about what I do, And so I'd always offer, hey, come train with me, dude, and I'll show you what I know, which isn't that much, but I'm not going to charge any money. I just need people to practice with anyways. So I didn't start getting paid as a martial arts instructor until a few of the people I was training finally just felt like they needed to give me money because they felt bad for taking up my time.
Oh, wow.
And that's how I started getting paid. And I remember saying, hey, Sifu, is it okay that I teach, for money? And he's like, yeah.
It's like, if people want to pay you, why not, right?
Yeah, that was really it. And you
became a Sifu by going, is it okay to teach? And him going, yeah,
that was my
teach. Like, that was your certification.
The official. I have an official Sifu Larry shirt from his school.
Right.
I'm like, this is my certificate.
Right.
And it's all. And my original one has holes everywhere. It's tattered. It's beat up. And I wear it, and there are people, and they're like, why are you wearing that shirt?
It's
It's my certificate. That's all I got.
It's rags and tags.
Yeah, just my rag.
That's actually one of my goals. Is I do want to become a instructor for you guys. Down the line.
We would love that because you have such an inspiring story. I think that you can help a lot of people in your journey and your progress and what you're doing. And I love the fact that you're writing for us. So for those of you watching this and you want to be able to hold yourself accountable and just be able to, show that progression, hey, you can get on here and share your story on one of our podcasts. You can start writing, when you can, even if it's just once a month to catalog like what's going on for the month. We'd love to have more people participating. We're so grateful, Bob, that you are willing to go that extra mile because it's not only going to help you, but it also helps us. So we're very appreciative.
Also, in the whole line of thinking of being certified and teaching, there's always people out there who feel that they need a certification to be legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's kind of how this world.
I grew up when I was
created that.
When I was young, with my father even, the whole notion of belts and things like that were not really relevant. Even if you watch the movie The Karate Kid, the first one, even Mr. Miyagi alleged to like how he has a Levi. That's my belt. Because even in the 80s, they knew when they looked at the Asian culture that the rank system truly wasn't that important. Teachers are not, you don't buy your certificate. You don't buy your ability to teach. You become a good teacher by doing the act of teaching.
Right.
So, in that journey, I don't think you either are a Sifu, you are a teacher, or you aren't. It's just the person that you are.
Yeah.
And I think some people look at teaching like, oh, maybe I need a job, right? Or maybe this looks like a good business to get into. And that's just not the right way to become a martial art instructor. You should be doing it for more than that. And then there's people like, well, if this guy can beat up that guy, I got to go learn from that guy over here because that guy beat that guy up. And that's kind of really stupid logic too, because in that case, then what you're really saying is you got to go find the best of the best of the best of the best, wherever that person is, no matter how much that person wants to charge, and just learn from that person. Because I guarantee you the person that you want to learn from, somebody can beat him up.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? So if you want to find the grand poopa, you better start searching. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
So I feel with Enter Shaolin, one of the main messages that I want to get across to people that learning martial arts, most people don't go on that journey, right? Most people, here's like the world, this is the world, and this is you, the person training every day. Well, here's the world in year one, and here's you in year one. Here's the world in year two, and here's you in year two. Here's the world in year three, here's you in year three. Here's the world in year four, and so forth and so on. So at some point, you're so far over here, and these people are so far over here. They didn't change anything. But you've been growing, being in pain, suffering, growing, being in pain, suffering, sometimes crying, right? I remember
Absolutely.
I trapped myself. I don't know how I did it, but I went to grab Sifu and I didn't get him, and I got myself, and I'm like, let me go. And then I looked down and it was me holding me, and I realized what happened, and he kind of like sucked his teeth, like, I'm like, oh man, I got the teeth sucking. And so I went on the ground and I grabbed his ankle. I'm like, you should just snap my neck. Now I shouldn't even breathe the same oxygen as you, Sifu. I don't even know. And it does. Like I even experienced that with some of my students, man. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm this stupid. I'm like, no.
I've definitely had those moments where I'm just like, I know that everyone tells me I'm smart, but I'm starting to question that. Because sometimes the simplest things really don't seem so simple in that moment. It's crazy. And it's like walk all over again. My first year was me going, Larry.
They lied to me. Everyone lied to me.
Everyone lied to me. My parents lied to me. My grandparents lied to me. The personal trainers I've seen doctors, everyone has lied to me. Everyone has failed me. They all lied to me.
Yeah.
Because you really are. It's like becoming a baby, learning to re-walk all over again and try to bury all those bad habits that you accumulated. And for me, I got started, so I've been with 3 years. When I was like 32 and a half is when my Kung Fu training officially started. So like I'm undoing like 32 and a half years of wrong stuff. It's not fun. So,
it's hard to adjust, you know, and that's what, you know, I've been with my health and everything else, you know, I have had a lot of downtime, but I've had a lot of time to think about things. And it's very hard to adjust to the way someone else is teaching you compared to what you were used to learning. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. We hear that all the time. You know, sometimes I feel like I have an advantage because I don't have anything to compare Sifu or Sifu Larry's teaching to, because this is all like new to me. I didn't learn something else prior to this. So sometimes I feel like I have an advantage in that because I'm not hung up on, well, I was told to do it this way. But we get that a lot, Bob, where people are like having that, you know, like their minds like messing with them. They're like, you know, I learned all this stuff, but it's not really relevant. And there's that duality and that fight within.
You know, I feel that I learned really well.
You were blessed,
but there was something that was taught to me at a young age from my father.
I was gonna say, your dad really
that made my way to learn different. And I think, you know, we're taught in this society, question everything. Mm-hmm. Question everything. The problem with that is if you're questioning everything, you're learning nothing.
That's my phrase through and through. I use that with my children.
You know, so I seen this in Sifu Phu school, and I seen this in my school, is people feel that they're smarter than they are, right? They're more athletic than they really are. They're better fighters than they really are.
They're stronger than they really are.
They're stronger than they really are. They should know more than they really do. Someone else is going to share the real secrets with them somewhere else, right? Mm-hmm. And it's always a question, and I get it, and I can even see it sometimes through Enter Shaolin with some of the questions that come through. Jamie, God bless this woman's soul, because I don't have patience like she does.
She doesn't.
Because I was taught. My dad said, "Look, if you're going to learn, pay attention. If you don't understand something, ask.
Right.
But don't just ask questions to ask questions."
Yep.
My father, he was, I think before he retired, he was a sergeant major, but he was also a drill sergeant and a master sergeant. And he served in the military, and, you know, he's a Vietnam vet and so forth and so on. But he would say with his soldiers all the time, it isn't that there's any dumb questions, but there are people who ask really ridiculous things that are irrelevant to what's going on,
or they're overthinking.
Right. You know, what does like even with like Qigong, right, or Tai Chi. We'll take Tai Chi. You have to learn you have to memorize the form. That's step one.
Yeah.
Step two is to tweak the form. Step three is to clean up the form. Right. When you get to step four, finally, now we can start figuring out how the energy is supposed to go in the form.
That's it.
Right? And so
step five, we can start applying. So
I say all the time, this was in Silim Tao. This was Wing Chun, right? I was doing Wing Chun for 7 years. 7 years. And I'm doing my Silim Tao one day, and Sifu walked over and he took my hand and went, "No, like that." I'm like that? 7 years, now is time to fix that?
Well, you weren't ready for that, right? You weren't ready yet.
Oh my God. And I remember I was driving home with my friend, and he goes, "Man, that was a brutal class." I'm like, "Bro, I can't even, I just should just quit." 7 years, and he had to finally fix my hand.
Can you share your story real quick about, because you were learning Silim Tao forever, right?
I was learning Silim Tao forever.
There was a student, we'll leave his name anonymous, that left Sifu school because he felt like he wasn't learning fast enough what he wanted to learn, which is a lot of people. It goes back to that microwave mentality. Everyone wants to be now, and sometimes you're not ready for that.
Yeah, I didn't learn.
He went and learned somewhere else. They taught him faster. You guys ran into each other at like a convenience store or something like that, and he started talking to you, and you're like, "Well, I'm still on Silim Tao." Right, I'm still on Silim Tao, and he was on, was it Chumkyul?
Yeah, he was doing Chi Sao.
Yeah, and so then he wanted to do what? He wanted to actually test out the
skills.
He
wanted to challenge me is what he wanted to do. He said it in a more friendlier way, but that's not how he played when we got into my basement.
But what happened? What happened?
You know, he was doing circle walking, and he was doing Chi Sao and doing all these things, and all I could still do at that time in like 3 years was pack dar, tan dar, a lap dar, and cycle punch, right? And so he's like, okay, well, we'll start with hands, but I'm gonna use my chi sao if you don't mind. I'm like, well, I don't care, man. Just don't knock any teeth out. That's all I ask. And so I just beat the crap out of him with a pack dar, tan dar, lap dar, and chain punching. That's all I knew. But I did it, and I could do it really good.
I was gonna say, you
and he
mastered that.
And he got frustrated, and then he started coming over more and more and training with me. And then after about like 8-9 months of him coming over, trying to get me every which way, he was surprised because at the time he was like, "How? I'm only 5'8". Right, so I don't know if that's tall or short in the world.
It's like average.
But for a lot of people,
average,
yeah.
You know, the taller people, I'm short. So this guy's taller than me. And I didn't exercise. I wasn't exercising. So I was just like this soft, round, squishy guy, right? Squishy. And he goes, "How is it? How can?" And he said to you, "How can someone who's short and fat like you beat me up? I don't understand." And I'm like, "Hey, man."
And he's like, "Man, I know more than you."
Yeah. So after we were training for a while, finally, we became friends, obviously. After someone tries to beat you up and you subdue them and they realize that they can't win, they want to be your friend. That's how it works. And so
but he ended up going back to training.
Yeah, right? he was real hesitant because he was embarrassed to go back. And I was like, dude, Sifu Phu doesn't think that way. Yeah, I'm like, he don't care. Dude, go ahead, go back. What are you doing? Well, I would go back if I was you. We could keep training with me, but I suck. you should learn off of somebody who, you have access to.
Yeah, so it's not always about how fast you get to, where you think you're going. It's the journey, and it can take as long as it needs to. And the longer, usually the better, because you really are going to be able to perfect that.
The only thing that there has to be, I think, with all of this type of online learning is some level of trust, right? It can take you 3 years. It could take you 15 years. It could take you 20 years to get to where you are supposed to be in your training. It is our job to make sure that we give you relevant, right information to guide you along the way to that end goal of yours. Yeah. But I can't know how long it's going to take a person.
I always tell people when they ask, because I get that, I do the customer service the majority of the time, and I'll have people like, so what's this going to take? 1-2 years? And I just start laughing, and I'm like, it's a lifetime thing. If this is not something you're willing to do for the rest of your life, like, this probably is not for you. It just isn't.
Or any martial art.
There's
no martial art that you can learn in 5 years. The funny thing is I know in a lot of karate schools, you don't actually start learning anything until after you've gotten your black belt already.
Yep.
The whole point of what people in this, at least in America, they don't understand. By getting that top level, what that really represents is you're now a beginner.
Right.
That's all that means.
Because one of Jay's friends does karate and stuff, and she was asking what the difference between karate and wushu was. So because our girls both do wushu, and so I was sharing that with her. And I told her, like, they actually had to earn their white belt. They didn't just get a white belt just because they showed up and decided to
Oh, yeah, they started as no belts.
Yeah, there were no belts. Or sashes, rather. But yeah, they had to actually earn that. So that was
They had to earn their
cool.
uniform, too.
And I think also with, they did. Their fancy uniform. They had to become a specific sash to be able to get a fancy uniform that they could, join the competition team if they wanted, and so on and so forth. But I think that same thing, Master Lee does the same thing. Like, it's like they're preparing for the real stuff right now. I think when they get to like a black belt, then they really start.
That's a lot of things.
Because now it's like, all right, well, now you're invested and you're clearly going to go the mile now.
There's a foundation that has to be built, right?
Oh, agreed.
And you can get a black belt. You can get a black belt in about 1.5 years, 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. And in that 1.5 years and 2 years, doing like what we do, you're just getting your structure down, your alignment down,
totally, babe.
Right? You're breathing correct. You're starting to get your muscles and the mind memory thing go on, so everything starts to flow better. And then after that 1.5 years, 2 years, now you can start learning some basic stuff that's really going to start bringing you to that next level of competency in martial art. But the first few years isn't even about that. Like, people want it that fast, and they'll throw you in the ring and go, okay, you know, you've been doing this for 6 months. I think you should get in there and you should start, you know, competing. But, you know, when you're trying to really master something and you're thinking about your family or, you know, or that situation that's really important, it's important for you to take that very serious and to understand that it's not an overnight process. Like the worst thing, the biggest scam that I've seen in martial arts is women's self-defense classes that are like a weekend long, you know, like, you know, Friday to Sunday, it costs $1,200 and they teach them how to scream really loud and slap around. Like that's somehow going to stop a crazed lunatic.
That's actually one of my it is something I even remember, you know, before I started martial arts, and I would see some of these women's self-defense things, whether it be like a commercial or something the news was showing, or now, you know, you see stuff on YouTube. And I even knew like there's no way these techniques are going to work. And I'm sure there's some good ones out there.
Well, they can work, but the person's not equipped and prepared with the kind of training that they need to make those.
Oh, no. You can't just learn it in a weekend and be done. Like you have to constantly be training for that. But I have seen some techniques that are just like scary, horrendous.
You know, I was an eye opener for me because, you know, I've struggled financially as a martial. One of the reasons why Enter Shaolin is in existence, and one of the reasons why it's so hard to get good martial arts training, is because people stink, right? They don't want to pay for lessons. Martial arts is a luxury for most people. And I'm a bad businessman that way when it comes to martial arts, because I do martial arts because I love it. So I never looked at it from a monetary standpoint. With that being said, my friend was dating a woman who was a Tai Chi facilitator. And at the time, I was making $25 a lesson is what I was charging for a private lesson at the time. This is going back at least a decade ago. And we were sitting in his backyard and she goes, yeah, I'm a Tai Chi facilitator. You know, I make $45 an hour. I'm like, what? You make how much?
Wow.
And I go, what do you do? Like, are you? And I'm like, oh man, she must be good. I'll push hands with her, right? And I go, what do you do? And she started showing me. I'm like, what form is that? And she goes, well, it's not really. It's just a simple beginner version. I'm like, it looks like Qigong. That's what it is. It's Qigong. I'm
like, she doesn't even know what it is, and she's making more money.
You know, and she didn't have any good structure. She was doing it. Her body was all sloppy. Her breathing was all out of whack. And I went, where did you get certified at? And there was a school to make people Tai Chi facilitators. Which
I get emails from them all the time still.
And so now this woman's teaching in health clubs. And she has her own practice, and she's showing these people this stuff, right? So here's my caveat: don't sell yourself as a professional, especially with people who have like yourself. You have real medical conditions you're trying to work through. You need to do the real stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, so while I feel that anybody can teach, and everybody, if they feel called to teach, should be a teacher, really know what you're doing. Like this person, clearly she took a course because she saw money, and it was a very short course, and she didn't know what she was really doing at all. Probably learned from somebody who didn't know what they were doing at all. Right. And then they pawn it off to the general public as being, this is what it is. So now when you say to somebody, I do Tai Chi, they go, that stuff's not martial arts.
Exactly.
Of course not, dude. If you're learning from a facilitator who barely knows what they're doing. Right. And Tai Chi has been, taunted as being a health and wellness type of exercise, that the whole aspect that it's actually the grand ultimate fist, and you could see all the other martial arts, right? You can see all the other martial arts filter through Tai Chi on some level, because Tai Chi is one of the oldest martial arts that ever existed. At one point, it was just a combat art. It wasn't just. It just so happens, and this is, I guess, what I like so much about Shaolin martial arts, especially, is that all of the things that you learn to hurt someone is the same exact stuff that you need to use to heal someone.
Yep.
It's a dual purpose, right? So you can focus on the healing, and that's great. You can focus on the fighting, and that's great. What I think if you see through history is most teachers on some level are healers as well. Mm-hmm. Because they just go together. You know, I don't think the majority of people out there who are really genuine teachers, they're not trying to hurt people. That's not the goal.
It shouldn't be. Yeah.
Or still, again, like I said, we don't make a lot of money per person on Enter Shaolin, you know.
No, it doesn't seem that you would.
You know, overall, like if we play the numbers game on a global level, right, it eventually can add up. But the whole purpose of doing Enter Shaolin was to totally be congruent and transparent with what our passions are.
Yeah.
Right, which is martial arts and internet marketing. We love internet marketing. That's how I met her, was on some other deal doing some internet marketing stuff.
Yeah, through one of our mutual friends. I thought we'd work well together, and
you know, so this is really an opportunity. And Sifu Phu, I don't think people realize nobody would know who he was because
except for people that meet him on a local level.
Because he had no desire to really go out there and put his face in the world. In fact, I remember when we were doing Enter Shaolin, I was like, Sifu, we're about to make you famous. because I know the power of the internet that can be yielded. And he deserves it. He's an amazing martial artist, right?
Well, now I think
his story needed to be told.
Right. And I think he's really happy because now Ngo Dac Na won't die with him. You know what I mean? Right. It will continually live on. So the stuff that his family has taught him now can breathe life into more people and stuff. And there's only so much one person can teach, or how many, there's only so many people you can teach on a personal basis, like one-to-one. And so I think that this is going to help his legacy live on, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I do too. I thoroughly enjoy just listening to, the way you guys interact and the way Sifu interacts with you, the both of you. It's just amazing that, you all are like the best of friends. Does that make, I guess that's the way I put it. Yeah, you guys are the best of friends, I guess you should be because you're together all the time, right?
You should be, right? It makes it a whole lot easier when you like who you work with, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, you're some, and you're some of who you hang out with.
Yeah.
That's it.
And who you associate with, and so you're either hanging out with people who are lifting you up, encouraging you, driving you, pushing you, or you're hanging out with people who are just dragging you down and pushing you down and things like that. We have another friend who's kind of like a silent partner, so to speak. Who trained with Sifu Phu, trained with me. The guy's a wonderful man, but he's just not really, right now, currently, he's not involved with what we're doing in the forefront of stuff.
Like he's waiting until we make enough money to be able to bring him in because he wants to like quit everything he's doing and be like a part of it. We actually have several people like that. We're like, all right, we're working, we're doing the best we can because we would love to be able to bless people, not just, through the teachings, but monetarily, which is why, we have the affiliate program set up and why we want to be able to certify people to be teachers, because we want people to be able to do what we do, which is do what they love.
Yeah, people say stuff to us sometimes, like we have like employees or or things like that. I'm not sure.
One day.
I'm not sure people realize, like, okay, Sifu Phu comes in, he films 3 days a week.
Yeah,
at least that's what we try for. 3 days a week,
at least 3 times
to film every single week is what we try.
So, sometimes it's like only twice.
But then after that, Sifu Phu goes about his business and does what Sifu Phu does. Sometimes we beg him to answer a comment here and there on the website.
Right.
Like, come on, Sifu, show your love. But like really, so we have all these ideas that we want to implement for you guys. And then we go, all right, this week we're going to get this done. This week we're going to get that done. And then the week goes by, then the month goes by, and we're like, oh man.
Right now, right now I'm dealing with all kinds of technical difficulties.
Yeah, we're always dealing with technical difficulties, man.
It's fun. There's growing pains inside of Enter Shaolin just from the business side of things too.
Hey, Jamie, I told you many times, you need anything, you just call me. I sit here at home all the time. You need help, need anything, I'm always around. I'll help you with anything I can.
Absolutely, brother. With your writing, that's definitely helping. And I think as we get more stuff done, like right now, we really need to work on making more videos for the affiliates and stuff like that to help train you guys.
Yeah, we want to help people.
Well, I know you're not going to do it, but you could still take, because I remember you're on disability, so you're not actually part of the affiliate program, but you could still take those teachings and help get the word out about Enter Shaolin, you know what I mean? Because that right there is such a great help. And it's the simple things. Like I don't think that a lot of our members understand, even though I feel like I'm always like saying this, just by commenting on the blog post, you know what I mean? sharing the blog posts, like the weekly updates and stuff, like if you're on Facebook or whatever, those things like you're doing a great job. I appreciate you, brother. But those simple things like help spread the word, and the faster Enter Shaolin grows, the more we can make Enter Shaolin better. Yeah, because obviously, you know, money is a great tool, and so we do the best we can with what we can, but we really appreciate members like you, Bob, that are investing in their education, not just by physically going and doing the education, but investing in us, because that helps us grow too and be better people. So we appreciate that. And I know like we're getting close to, well, actually we're a little bit past an hour. But I just wanted to ask Bob, you know, I know that you're doing the Qigong. I know that, you know, you're working on some of the core training and stuff. You know, support system is paramount in your progress as well. What other things are you doing to stay motivated and to find the time? Because I want to preface, you have 7 kids, right?
Yeah.
And you got 2 doggies, right?
Oh yeah, and a granddaughter.
And a granddaughter, right? So you have all kinds of reasons to have all kinds of excuses for either time or pain or whatever the case may be, and yet you don't make those excuses. So what are some tips that you would like to give the people listening or watching to this podcast to help them get past the time excuse, get past the I don't feel good excuse? What other things are you doing?
I set goals for myself every month. I set a weekly goal, I set a monthly goal, and I have a yearly goal that I set.
Yeah.
And I learned that long ago when I was working in a restaurant as a manager. And, you know, if you don't set the goals, you're not going to try to achieve them. And always give yourself a reward at the end. And that's, everyone looks at me like, you're crazy. I'm like, no, give yourself a reward at the end. Like my reward at the end of this month, if I can get all the training done, I get to eat pizza.
There you go.
Okay?
I love that. Eat some pizza.
I try to stay away from it, but that's, you know, that's how I get myself motivated to do it, because I love my pizza. You know,
pizza's good. Every once in a while, you know.
See, I'm weird. I just like pepperoni. That's it.
Right. You can't eat that stuff all the time, right? Like we know that, but that's a great reward. Like, okay, I hit this goal. Now I can have something that I really, really like, but I can't eat on a regular basis. That's a great thing. So what are some other ways that you reward yourself for your goals?
Date nights with my wife.
Ooh, those are good. That's
yeah.
How you keep the romance, brother. I love it.
Romance. I'm too old for that crap.
No, you're never too old for romance. Trust me.
No, I'm just joking. That, you know, they just, some of the things are just silly. Like, you know, extra time to take the dogs for a walk. Just spending time with my kids and my grandchild. My granddaughter's my world. So, you know, that's just how it is. That's how I keep myself motivated, because if they see me, my kids see me doing this, they do it themselves.
Absolutely.
You know what, Rob? I'm a big proponent of that. I really am. I was fortunate and blessed to be able to be a stay-at-home father. My kids don't know anything but me being at home, because
same with my daughter.
Because you know, my
always worked from home.
My studio for martial arts, my office for internet marketing is I built a building right next to my house. You know, so I've been here since my oldest daughter's 13, going on 14. This school that's here now, this building's been here. It was literally built when my daughter was 3 months old.
Oh wow!
So it's been here that long. And I played music for my girls. I sung to my girls. I've done martial arts with my girls. And I have kind of like a division in my 2 children. My youngest daughter, she does more of the athletic type stuff. My oldest daughter, she's more of the musician
and
artsy type person. But I was there so they could model it. You know, some parents are like, oh, I'll let the kids decide what they want to do. But I don't really buy into that, because my father, I didn't know it's what he was doing, but I am what I am today because my father did what he did with me when I was literally a baby and when I was young, and the things that he taught me and trained me on, the movies we would watch together, the activities we would do together. You know, I didn't know what to do when I was 17, 18, 19, 20. I really didn't know what direction to take my life in, because I dropped out of high school. So being a dropout, all I knew at that time was if I don't work hard, I'm going to be broke.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked all kinds of jobs, but none of that ever it never felt fulfilling to me. I never felt like this was going to go anywhere. And then the worst thought in my mind was, oh my God, this is what life is going to be for me until I die. It's terrible. Right. And like, I don't want it to be like this. So I didn't know in my teenage years that I was going to revert back to being like what I am today.
Right.
I didn't know that. But then when I started thinking about things and kind of putting all the pieces together, I realized I'm exactly what my dad wanted me to be.
Right.
You know, and I didn't, and he was.
Isn't that crazy how that works?
He was wise because I'm doing what I'm the person he wanted me to be without him forcing that on me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did with my kids. I remembered those lessons. So everything with my kids was just a game. It was all fun. It was part of living, part of life. And then I walked away from it to see how far are they going to take the things that they do.
Right.
That's right.
And you know, they both, like Kara's a little bit against wushu right now, my youngest one, because she wants to do dancing and stuff. I'm like, I ain't got time for dancing. You're doing wushu. So she said,
well, you told her unless she wants to do gymnastics.
She
but she
like,
said
you
no.
can quit gymnastics because she does both of them. And she doesn't want to quit gymnastics, so she doesn't get to take dancing. So now she wants to rebel. But she works really hard. You know, she practices and she's disciplined in her practice. And I never had to say, Kara, you need to practice. My oldest daughter, Anna, you know, she wants to sing and she wants to play music and she wants to draw. I never want, and you know, you shell out money so they can get better at this stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And they practice on their own. You know, my help to them is I know music and music theory because I played music growing up, and I know martial arts is part of what I do. So I can at least help them and identify with them. But, you know, I shell out the money. I make sure they get good lessons. I don't ever sit there and go, you need to practice. Never once have I told my kids, you guys need to practice. Unless I'm just, you know, busting their chops to bust their chops. And I'm happy about that. But that's a parental thing. That's a parental thing with kids. The worst people to teach are kids. And
they are.
The reason why they're only the worst to teach because they're parents. It's because of their parents. Their parents aren't involved.
My kid's number one.
I've taught kids, you know, martial arts, and their parents would drop them off and like it's a daycare or something.
Yep.
Did you guys practice? No. Do you even want to be here?
Not really.
Oh my God, why are you here? Why is your because the parents like get out of my hair or get some discipline but that's not the way to get a child good at something. You have to immerse yourself in it and become part of it.
Yep.
And they kind of they model you. You are your children's first teachers.
Absolutely.
Right. So
but sometimes you have a stubborn one that doesn't model you, and that would be my daughter. I'm like, Jaya, this is not how I raised you. What are you doing? But I believe, you know, you kind of went astray from what your father taught you. And I believe what the word says, you teach them in the way they should go. And they may, you know, go backwards for a while, but
they'll always be back.
Always come back. They'll always come back. So
you have to instill strong roots.
Yeah,
that's why I feel bad. You know, there's always a man versus woman thing in parenting. But I really feel bad for a lot of fathers and even the mothers who have the same role of where you spend so much time at work, right? And then when you're at home, you're spending your time just being a disciplinarian. So you're just being a disciplinarian or you're not around, right? And then you got a headache because you're doing all kinds of work things, and then you're trying to be a parent. So you want to go blow off some steam, whether it's hang out with your friends or go fishing or whatever it is that you do. That your kids, they really start. They don't get to see who you are or the kind of person that you are. They don't have nothing to model. All they know is that mom and dad are either angry, they're always yelling at me, and they got to work really hard. But they don't see what it is that you're doing. You know?
Besides, I think that happens a little bit more now with my daughter. When I was homeschooling her before she was, you know, old enough to be in school, she got to be around me all the time. And so she still gets to be around me almost all the time, but now she's going to public school and everything. And I think there's part of that disconnect. Like we've lost part of our connection because now with Enter Shaolin, I am working a lot. So, and I'm the only parent. So I have to be, you know, good cop, bad cop, and everything in between, like all the time. So I think that some of that struggle I'm having with my daughter as well, because I feel like there's not enough balance in our lives, which is probably why she's going to be homeschooled next year, because I think we need to get back to the root of things and be able to balance everything out and be able to have that going on.
It's funny you said about homeschooling, and my oldest daughter, she's going to be a senior next year.
Mm-hmm.
She comes to me, she goes, Bob, she's my stepdaughter, but you understand. She goes,
Yeah.
Bob, can I be homeschooled next year? I'm like, huh? I'm like, why would you want that your senior year? And she goes, well, I'm bored.
I
I'm
begged
bored
my
of school.
parents to homeschool me when from 6th grade on. I begged them because I was bored at school and I didn't like all the politics and drama, and I just wanted to be able to do my studies in peace and quiet and get them done. Unfortunately, my parents didn't listen. So I would highly recommend that you explore that option with her if you're not already doing so.
I am. She goes to, we have like Votex and stuff. She's going for nursing, and I'm like, well, how will that affect you going to Votech and, you know, doing what you need to there? She goes, well, nothing. I can still go there. I just won't go to school. I'm like, well, I'll talk with your mother on it. So, you know, and that's something we're exploring. There's no added cost or anything like that here in Pennsylvania.
No.
So, you know, it's, I don't know if she has the discipline enough to do it, though. That's the thing.
Well, you know, there's a lot of different options you can explore. There is like where there's the online schools for homeschooling. So she has to be accountable because she has to log in. She gets to physically see the teacher. Sometimes there's like with the webcam, sometimes they'll get to interact with the other students and stuff like that. So there's lots of options. Or there's just, you know, you doing it and working with her, or something in between those two. If you want, I can send you over some information.
Please.
I will do that, brother. So back to what we were saying. So, you know, you have that support system. What are some other advice that you have for people to stay accountable and to find the time to take care of yourself?
Just do it. That's my biggest thing. Just do it. You know, quit the excuses. You know, everyone has an excuse, just like everyone has a, you know what. And that's all and they all stink. So, you know, just do it. You know, that's the easiest thing I can say is just do it.
Make goals, short-term, mid-term, long-term, and reward yourself along the way. Have a support system. If you don't have one, find one. And if you're a part of Enter Shaolin, you already have one. Utilize your support system. Utilize your tools. We are here for you, whether you want to, you know, come on and do a podcast, you want to talk to us in the chat room or the forum, or email us at support@entershaolin.com. Give us a call at 1-844-9-KUNG-FU. We're here for you. So utilize your resources, and you have a great family. And there's Sweet Pea. Hey, Sweet Pea.
Yeah, they both just came running out to me. So.
Aw, they're like, hey, Daddy, we're bored. We're ready for some love, huh?
Either that or I probably should get off of here.
All right. Well, yeah, we're going to wrap it up. Bob, we thank you for being on here with us.
Guys. Anytime you want me to come on, I'll be more than happy to.
And thank you for sharing your wisdom and how you are persevering despite all of life's challenges. We appreciate you, and we love you, brother.
Love you guys too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And for those of you that like this podcast, you know, whether you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, comment on it. And if you'd like to reach out to Bob, you can come onto our site and go to our My Kung Fu Journey and check out Bob's progress and reach out to him there as well, or on our forum or our chat. So thank you again, Bob. And thank you for watching and listening. Bye for now.
Bye-bye, guys.